to Monday Night Live Chat. We are back. It's been a few weeks. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. We are talking about how you can't make $1 million. Oh, what's this little drink?
It is Fancy Food Lion, which is our grocery store branded water.
Yes, nice. Sparkling water, the grossest, the worst. Anyways.
We call it bubble water, but it's just white. It's like clear soda.
Oh, nice. I cannot drink that stuff at all. This is
just
nope.
It's
all the hard
seltzer.
seltzers out these days tastes like an armpit. It's freaking horrible.
No, you're thinking like LaCroix, like that seltzer stuff. Yeah, this isn't. This is like sweet. It's soda.
Oh.
It's soda.
Okay, yeah. Little soda. Soda pop? How do you say soda? What's the thing that people always say about soda? What is it? You don't know?
It's delicious. I don't know. That's all I've ever heard.
It's like in every different area. Some people say pop, some say soda.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is true, but I haven't heard like what they say about it.
It's exhilarating. It's an exhilarating topic. You know, that's what I try to do.
I have to say it's as exhilarating as looking at the comments right now. If you're here, say hello. Antonio first. Hashtag first, by the way. Window guys second. You got to speed that game up. Paz, window cleaning, what's up? Cam Dooley, what's up? Greg is here, and Keeper Upper LLC says soda. The right way.
Soda.
If you're here, make sure to go ahead and thumbs up or heart the video here. Share it if you want, and comments, like all your comments, dumb or not, it helps the algorithm. And Steve is just a struggling YouTuber who could use some views.
Yes. Thank you to all. We got to 40,000.
I was just gonna say, by the way,
40,000.
You hoped by the end of the year, and you hit that, what, like this week?
I hit it around Thanksgiving or something like that. Or day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, I think it was. So, you know, it's a big achievement. YouTube hasn't sent me anything, but, you know, it's feeling pretty cool.
You're gonna get that that cardboard play button that I was talking about.
No, I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I just it'll be great. But honestly, though, I've been on here since 2012. February of 2012 is when I joined YouTube.
It's crazy.
And started putting up videos of me cleaning with a wagtail high flyer back in the day. I think that was my first video. Pretty impressive.
High flyer.
When was your first video on YouTube? You have some videos that maybe no one knows about. I have seen.
Yeah, I had another channel I don't even know how to get into that exists, but I did videos so I did The Biz. That was the first one before Mullen Jersey even, and that was man, that was when cameras were in 480, and it took a day to upload. That was a while ago. Felt like a while ago. But I found another one on me. I'm like, that's me. And it was me showing some guy. I was like, hey John, I was just showing you how to fan because somebody was asking about the turn, how to not leave a line, and I just did a video back when there wasn't video responses, and somehow lost that account. And yeah.
Can you still find it though? If you've been on YouTube, you can find it.
I can't remember. I tried a couple weeks ago. I tried to find it again, and I couldn't find it. So it's ranks so bad, you have to specifically write the exact title, and they're like, yeah, nothing exists with that.
Ooh, I already had a question, but then Cam Dooley retracted it, but I already copied and pasted it.
Nice.
Who's the best window washing companies in Massachusetts that you have heard of? The only one that I can think of is Mike Ratzick, and that the only reason I think he's in Massachusetts because his window cleaning business is Pro Window Cleaning Mass or something like that. That's the only person I know, and he does pretty well. There,
I know. Who else is in Mass? I'm thinking. Oh, you got Bill Labity's in Mass. You got Peter DeChesney's out there. He's on the Cape. He's Mass. There's a lot of companies out there, but none of them are coming to mind for some reason.
There's a lot of companies everywhere. That's the craziest part about it. You know what's the funniest thing we always hear is, hey, so I want to start a window cleaning company in my area. I know there's a market for it because there's no window cleaners. It's just that you hardly ever see window cleaners.
Yeah. It's like buying
myself going out. It's super, super rare that I could ever see a window cleaner out.
Yeah, go buy a Ford, a red Ranger, Ford Ranger, and that's all you'll see for the next, I love that when people are like, does that mean, or when people are the opposite, and they're like, I've seen window cleaners around. I think it's just too saturated.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the time.
Sure.
All the time. Oh, we got a lot of people here. It's middle of winter. Well, it's not middle of winter. It's before winter, but it's getting cold. This week's actually a nice warm up. So we kind of expect more people to be here because you guys probably aren't as busy. But if you are crazy busy, tell us in the comments. If you're taking some time off, tell us in the comments, but tell us kind of what's been going on. I'd love to hear about it.
So proud of you for asking questions to the audience.
Get
those comments up. That's good. That's good.
Just, get a little Jers vibe, trying to, create some conversation, just trying to do the good things, go on. So
I have a question for you. What did you do for Thanksgiving?
For Thanksgiving, we went to my parents' house. My mom hosted Thanksgiving. So I went over there and hung out and ate a lot of food, slept. But as you know, we work on Fridays. It's like one of our favorite days of like the year. So it was like the whole time I was just sitting there just thinking of what was going to go on Friday.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving to me doesn't really feel like too much of a holiday anymore. It's like nice, but I'm more excited about Black Friday. Like that's kind of like the fun day. So
it's like the Christmas Eve versus Christmas. You're like, yes.
Yeah. But December 1st is where I really I mellow out for like a month. Just hang out. I don't worry about anything. Yeah, it's nice.
Because it's Christmas month. I mean,
Christmas month. Well, it's been Christmas since, November 1st.
Halloween for you, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Some would say no to that, but that's the way it's been. What did you do? Did you fry your turkey in your kitchen and blow up your house or what?
No. But by the way, you're the Hobby Lobby of people, by the way. Where you're like pulling your Christmas tree out like the day after the 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I went over to some friend's house and just ate, as I eat keto, so it's not like I could eat enough that I feel sick. But Thanksgiving is the most American holiday, I have to say, because you just eat a ton and you watch football and you sleep and you just eat some more. Like that's what most people do.
Here's a big question for everybody. Do you have sweet potatoes on Thanksgiving? And are your sweet potatoes orange or yellow? And do you like marshmallows on your sweet potatoes?
Is there another color of sweet potato?
Yeah, you can get golden sweet potatoes that are like a golden yellow, or you can have a real orange sweet potato. We always have the golden sweet potatoes with marshmallows all over it. So good. That's been my favorite dish since I can remember life.
I don't think I've ever eaten those.
Oh man,
I've seen them, but it's just like potatoes with marshmallows. It just sounds like, in the grand scheme of it, I know there's like 6 sticks of butter and like a pound of sugar and whatever. But even back in my day, I never tried it.
Oh man, no, it is so good. See, and then somebody talked about candied yams. I've never had candied yams. See,
it's
that's
the same thing, right? A yam is a sweet potato.
A yam is a sweet potato, but I think in candied yams, oh my gosh, Craig just put one clip. You son of a this guy.
Craig.
I'm sending Craig
my hero
2-clip shirt in his next order. 1000%. I think I might send him a week's worth of 2-clip shirts, just so he has Monday through Friday. He can go to work and he can show all of his clients the right way to live.
Hey, then he doesn't need to buy any Huck towels, couple knife swipes and.
Hey,
I think it's like a local thing, right? Like candied yams is like a southerny thing maybe, and then like sweet potatoes is, I've seen candied yams, but like a sweet potato is a sweet potato. Like it's always been in the tray. It's orange and it's got like a bunch of stuff on top that gets crusty.
There's so many good southern things that we don't have in Colorado. Like when we went to Nashville this past year, the first night I got there, we went to oh man, what's that lady in the South who's so well known? She's a cook.
Dolly.
Not Dolly.
You're talking Emma Paula Deen.
Paula Deen. We went to Paula Deen's restaurant, and my gosh, it was just, what did they have? Buttercake. Oh my God, I'd never had that in my life. That was like a Pop-Tart on steroids. That thing was so good. It was so good. But then what else? There were so many foods that we had that we had never had that just like are not popular here, but it was
what's like a Colorado thing? What do you have that I don't have other than Rocky Mountain oysters?
Oh well, that's where I was going to go with
that. I've had those before, by the way.
They're so good, and you just get away from even if they just pop in your mouth a little bit, you just let it go.
All right, everybody,
they're
that's
fried.
the show.
They're so good. They're breaded.
It's like Gizzards. Gizzards is like a fried southern thing, and it's like awful. It's like eating fried rubber bands or chicken knuckles or something. It's awful.
But see, if it's if it's fried, it all tastes the same. Like, you know, you can have like, you know, alligator fried, it tastes pretty good. Rattlesnake fried, it tastes pretty good. It all tastes good.
Yeah,
Oh, did you
eating
all have
snakes?
sweet tea with Thanksgiving?
Oh man, I should have, but no, I can't. I don't.
No,
I can see it though.
I have Jack and Coke pretty much. I mean, you know, it's Thanksgiving.
It's kind of the same. It's kind of the same.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good water, you know. It's
Have you
really
had
good
sweet tea before? Like real sweet tea?
I'm not
like
a fan of tea in general. So, like, I've had Arizona iced tea. Is that the same? It's not the same.
you have lost. Look at everybody's leaving the chat right now. They're like, yeah, I know it is absolutely different.
It is.
There's something with like cane sugar and tea when it's mixed together like that, because you like mix it while it's like hot and melts the. There's something about it that will literally make like your bones tingle and you'll have diabetes in a week. It's that good.
So when's the last time you had sweet tea?
It's been unfortunately a long time.
Wow.
I had a little bit of a sweet tea addiction when I first moved here too, because I just discovered it.
Oh, I could imagine I would have that. My thing is, like, my weakness is fruit punch, high C fruit punch from Raising Cane's. Have you ever had Raising Cane's high C fruit punch?
I've heard of
with
it.
With Raising Cane's, with the chicken, with the sauce, with the toast. Come on, man. Come on.
You had Kool-Aid and chicken, and they were like the combination just blew your mind, basically.
Yeah, it should.
He's from Colorado. Everybody's like, hey, listen, man. I had chicken and
chicken high C.
Have you had Hawaiian punch before?
Huh?
Is Hawaiian punch as good as high C?
Yeah, man. Oh no, wait. It's all the same. It's all the same.
It is.
But you know how, like,
it's all that.
I don't know why we're going into this, but you know how when you get like Coke from a fast food restaurant, but then you get Coke in a can, and Coke in a can is totally different than the Coke out of the fountain. That's the same exact thing with high C, where high C in the bottle or high C with the powder is way too strong, but then when you get it from the actual restaurant, it's way better.
That's right.
So
it's like Coke in a bottle. You know, I drink water out of a can. Like, it sounds so stupid, but like Liquid Death and Monster just came out with the water now. In a can is so much ice cold and delicious that I can see it just tastes better. It makes no sense.
I think I remember a year ago where you put out that post about like how good the marketing is with Liquid Death of why you would drink it. And I watched the post and I did not understand.
Dude,
water.
Monster just came out with, remember, so Liquid Death started because everybody would dump out their Monster cans on tour, fill it with water, so they were drinking out of like a cooler can instead of a bottle of water.
Oh wow.
Monster just came out with, they got like cans now, canned water. It's called like Monster Water or something. It's just literal water in a can, and it's got like Monster's, like, you know, supposedly like cool designs on it.
So 12 pack for $15 of water.
It's pretty much it. Yeah.
Insane. Direct Mantis 6. Is that jersey on the left? Are you talking about this left? Or are you talking about that left or this left?
My name is SteveO, the window cleaner, and this here is Jersey.
Yep.
The lighting
orders.
lighting makes him look a lot older than me and SteveO, but
Yep. Craig, you had a question about the Luke window cleaner channel. No, you didn't. You were wondering if anyone has someone laying around. Do you have one laying around?
I didn't. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Here's the debate of the year, but was there anything actually different with it? I mean, like, how different of a channel? Like, I like the like Ettore Super channel, but like
different.
That, yeah, you said too, like the old version and the new version, they're like way different. You don't like one versus the other, and it's like, man, maybe I'm not cultured enough to be able to see, to feel it.
Well, you'll get there. You know, it'll come with time. But
I'm new at window cleaning. I'm
brand new. You haven't cleaned a window in years. I don't know what to tell you. But the Luke the Window Cleaner channel was really great in that what it was basically an Unger Ninja channel without the end clips, but also could take the brass clips, which the Unger Ninja, if you took off the clips, it couldn't take the brass clips. And then also like the corners were smoothed out, kind of like any ordinary channel. It's a very, very good channel. I just think that it was
that much different than like a super channel.
Yes, a super channel has way more tongue of the rubber on top, which has a lot more detailing than like a Luke the Window Cleaner channel or a Pulex Max or a Sorbo channel or even like an Unger Ninja channel. I'm always impressed when I see people use like an Ettore Super channel for residential. I could never do that, but
yeah. I just like I don't know. I've just never been like super into channels too much. I love Sorbo stuff, but I never used it because the rubber was just like their own rubber basically. So it's like instead of switching all of the stuff that I had for every other crew that I ran, it was like I didn't want to have like 2 different types of rubber. I could have put them all on Sorbo, but
yeah. I think it's so easy to put everybody on round rubber because then everybody has a lot of options. Like you could, everything else is an option. When you get flat rubber, you only have one option. So I mean,
you know, Sorbo rubber's designed for round channels and flats. Though they're like,
yeah,
you know, I have used it that long and knew about it that long, and it wasn't until I got yelled at by Sorbo himself. It was like, I need to do better videos and show people this. I'm like, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. He's like, that's what I made it like this for. I'm like,
I think the first time I actually saw someone do it was when I was working with Jim. And Jim just did not care about that kind of stuff. And he took a Sorbo rubber, put it right in the Ettore channel, put clips on it, went in there, and like it was all wavy and stuff. He didn't care. And I don't personally do it. Like I am very particular to just the way that rubber is like in the channel, you know, all the 1 clip, 2 clip stuff. But it definitely works. Like definitely works.
I'm still a huge fan of the Ettore rubber. It's just, I don't know.
Consistent.
What was your first tool? You said you started, your first video was on Wagtail, but was that your first tool you ever started with?
No. The first probably tool I ever started with was probably some kind of Ettore squeegee, like probably aluminum 12-inch or 14-inch. And then when I started cleaning route in 2012, early 2012, February of 2012, the guy that was like kind of walking me through like some of the different jobs that we had, we just used 22 and 18-inch brass all day long, Pro Plus swivel handle, and then a porcupine sleeve. That's what we used on everything. We'd clean up the floors with our porcupine mop. They were so dirty. It was some of the grossest. Like when I look back at it and think like what we were doing, it was so bad. His mop, the guy who trained me, his mop was black 24/7. You couldn't get a sud of soap out of it because it was so dirty. There were just streaks everywhere because the water was so nasty. But he was also a stickler in that, like, you got one dunk and we had to go do like 7 or 8 storefronts and you could not come back. And that's the way he was trained by his dad. His dad would drop him off some downtown area, I don't know where. And he'd literally say, 1 dunk, 1 towel, go get some money, like be back in like 4 to 5 hours.
Man. Dude, were you past the era of like cigarettes? If you're in the comments, tell me if you've ever cleaned a cigarette covered window, like that tar covered window. Dude, that was a thing. And I did a bunch of machine shops. Like my mom was in machine shops. So like her friends found out I was starting to window clean. So that was like a lot of my first stuff. It was so bad where you like squeegee it and the stuff that hit the sill would just be like mud. And you're like, oh man, everybody in the office would smoke with all the machinery. And
oh, I see what you're saying. So like office buildings where they were smoking, like no matter what, I can only imagine. The worst I ever had to do was a cigar shop.
Oh yeah. TSP is a lifesaver. That doesn't even make sense how good that works. You just like sprinkle some of it in your mix and it smells like fish, but it just, everything cuts, film, smoke, like fire from smoke, grease from like, we did a bunch of gyro places where why you put windows in a gyro place makes no sense because they just have that giant delicious thing spinning and cooking and just getting all over the windows.
Oh, man. No, I always remember this smoke shop called Barlow's, and we did it. And I would always take a crappy mop there, and we did it like in and out every 2 weeks, and it didn't matter. And I finally one day just told the owner, I said, we just can't do this anymore. Like this is so dumb. This is the worst.
You're trashing everything. How much are you
so we just switched to outside only, and they had blinds. Like they had blinds that nobody looked out of these windows, and they closed them all the time. And I was like, there's just no point to this, man. Like it ruins my life. Hey,
and it gets your fingers too.
Josh, you see this comment here? Any Wisconsin window washers in here? Jersey used to be. Keeper Upper. We talked quite a bit. Great guy. So
they're all going into hibernation right now, but yes, there are quite a few. Quite a few.
Yeah, I think so. Up there, it's probably super cold by now. Michigan, all that pretty much done.
Oh man, dude, I got a customer in Michigan just got 2 feet of snow on Friday.
I can't wait. We're getting snow this weekend. I hope it's 2 feet. Oh, I hope I can't go anywhere. Just hope.
You still can though. It's Colorado. You guys just like, well.
Yeah.
All right.
They'll clean the streets.
Come. I would love nothing more for somebody like you, is just like born and raised there, to come hang out in Charlotte when we get like a literal inch of snow.
It's madness.
It's like the cartoons, like coming from Wisconsin, people are like, oh, it shuts down. And I thought that was like just a figure of speech. No, the town shuts down. Like cops don't go out. Like Walmart closes. Well, the first year I was here, there was an inch of snow and like some ice kind of pack, And we're just like, I got to see if this place. We drove around. It was dead. No one's on the roads. Just a bunch of trucks. Just people from out of town. Like, what is going on? We're like, all right, well, this place is open. There was one gas station and one Steak and Shake open. We're like, well, let's go to Steak and Shake. I go in, and it was like a cartoon. The like manager had like his tie on. It was like hanging down his neck, and he had his unbuttons. He's like, I can't send him home now, so we might as well feed you guys. Come on in. Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? He was like, I tried. I was going to let him go, and we were busy, and then I waited too long, and now we're stuck here. And I'm like,
oh, my God.
Like it's not even up to the bottom of the door. Like, you can just open the door. Like, it's amazing. It's great.
That would be fun to see. Because here, I mean, people are out in shorts, just having fun all day. Like, you don't care. It's a great place. Man, we're getting backlogged on questions here.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere. All right. Okay, here we go. All righty. Let's see. Peter, have you used a plastic scraper on tempered windows? Does this work? And I've never used a plastic scraper in my life. I had someone ask me about that the other day of why we don't sell them. And I haven't. But I've also just always used a regular razor on tempered glass unless it's popping.
Yeah, it's as effective as your fingernail. Like people, like I was on a Reddit post today about that, and the guy was like, can a razor or a plastic razor scratch glass? Because the metal one does. No, it doesn't. The glass fines do, and the glass fine will break off regardless if it's a plastic razor, even if it's a scrubber. But the thing is with a scrubber, it's soft enough that it doesn't like push it up against there. Same thing with the plastic razors. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's one of the, no matter how frustrating it makes me, we'll never win the battle. People will just be like, oh yeah, you can't scrape tempered glass.
Yeah.
Who started that rumor? Whoever started that rumor?
Mini. I heard it for a long, long time. When I was working at Fish, our like main owner was so against razors that she actually took them away for a while. Like you couldn't use razors at all. Like just so against it. It's just one of those things I think that's always going to be like Peter has been a long time window cleaner. The guy has cleaned windows for like 30 years, but like I think a lot of people are just trying to find like another way to do it, but because it sucks because being out there, it seems like the window quality is not nearly as great. Because I even had situations happen where you can't even tell, like you can't hear anything, nothing, and then all of a sudden you look in the right light and it's these, and they're like the super nice windows that someone's like, oh, it's like a super customized modern home, and then you're like, scraping doors, and all of a sudden you look and you're like, I didn't hear anything. There was nothing that made me think that this was happening, and boom, just complete lines of
but
scratches.
It also may not have been you.
Exactly.
Because like fabricating debris on glass, like if you have tempered glass that's been cleaned like 3 times, you could never scratch it again because all the glass fines are off. The glass fines break off instantly, but because we're the first people to touch it and they think it's us, and it could be, anything else, and the sparkle of a scratch, it's the light reflecting on the sides, right? Because it's like a little channel. And when that fills with dirt, you don't see them. So when you clean a window, all of a sudden they look like they're scratched. And they're like, oh, you scratched them. It's like, no, your windows are dirty. You just noticed them now.
I used to get excited.
I still get why people get terrified of it, but yeah.
I almost used to get excited when a customer would call and they would say, hey, you scratched all our windows. I'm like, okay, let me come by because we're going to go over all of this. We're going to really dive deep into, you're going to want me gone by the time that I go through all of this with you. And like the biggest thing always was like, there was never the path like of the scraper. Like like you have to be able to show me like why did this happen? Like
Yeah. I like the sandpaper ones where they're like little swirls, and you're like, you did that. They weren't like that before. They were, because it's sandpaper, and it was from somebody like sanding the side of the window. Like, it's not for me. It's just impossible for me to do that. But
the worst one I ever did was, I think I've told you the story before, but a commercial window, and like it was popping like crazy, and I just kept going. I just thought it was great.
Hey, and a commercial window, what are they gonna do?
Yeah,
like windows that are old, they get scratched from just like blowing sand, blowing dirt and stuff.
Let's get to this one real quickly. I know I'm going to jump to it, but Antonio Howell asked, this might be a dumb question. Can you fix a tinted window if you accidentally use steel wool on small part of the glass? Well, if you scratch tint, you pretty much just got to remove the tint and retint the window. The nice part about it is that if it's tinted, it can be easily repaired.
Easily. Yeah. And if it's a crap tint where they put it on the seal and not the insides, then you literally for like $12 you could fix it. It's super easy.
Tint sucks. Tint sucks, but it's not on as many windows as many people think. I've really had that happen a lot, where many think that there's not like a factory tint or commercial glasses like tinted on the outside, and it's extremely rare. Extremely rare.
Yeah. It's like low E though too. People are always, oh, this one says low E. Well, 99.9% of the time it's in there. There's like the thing on all this stuff is that there will be people like, I'm just never gonna razor, and that's totally cool, but you have more of a chance dying in a car accident going to that job, and yet people still drive. They're like, yeah, it's a risk I'm willing to take. But yeah,
I got a perfect question for you, because you are the king of phone estimates. Here we go. Window cleaners of Brandon. I know Jersey does phone quotes. It seems like customers are bad at basic window counting. They are. And their quote is like half of the price of what it is really ends up being. What's a good way to deal with that?
I would say that's super, super rare in the way that you ask the questions. Don't just say, how many windows do you have? And they're like, 12. Just go, okay. So I know the square footage, right? If it's a 2,200 square foot house, it's a 2-story. I know there's about 20 to 24 windows, depending on what. It could be less than that too, but I'm talking new construction, like cookie cutter. When somebody comes in, they're like, 7. All right. I know there's going to be something wrong, and I'm looking at a satellite image, So I always ask the question just like this. First off, I get the square footage so I know what I'm looking at. 1 or 2 stories so I understand what I'm looking at. Then I say, okay, this is going to sound weird, but close your eyes. Let's start at the front door, and let's go around counting your windows going to the right. And they're like, okay. That's as awkward as it is. They count everything up, and I could tell you maybe in a year they're wrong. And that's like running 4 crews. Like that's very, very uncommon. But again, just like anything, how you ask it is kind of how that goes.
Yep. Asking as many. How many questions do you think that you would go through and ask? You once went through a lot of the questions, but I'm not going to make you do that now. But like how many questions? 4 main questions?
It's like 4. If I can just get their so without the 4 questions, I'm going to get their name, address, phone, whatever, email, and then I'm going to say, and how did you hear of us? That's my main question you got to ask anyway, just to know what's working. And then after that, I have 4 questions basically, and it's okay. Tell me a little bit about your house. What's the square footage of your house? Okay, is it a 1 or 2 story? I got that right. And then I say, okay. And this is one extra question because I am in on Wisconsin. But I say, if it's a nice day out, how do you open your windows? Do they slide up and down or do they crank open? Now I know if they're crank outs or double hungs. And then my extra question, which makes it 5 for us, but is, okay, on a nice day, once you open that first pane, can you touch the screen right away or do you touch more glass and have to open that up, called a triple track? Once I say that, I get that out of the way. And then that's literally the entire questions. Then I go, okay, this is going to sound weird, but go ahead, close your, and then I walk them through. They count it up. Now I know what kind of windows they are. I know what I'm looking at. I know the size of the house approximately in my head, and I know how many windows there are. So, I mean, every now and then somebody's off by like a window or 2, but I'm not really caring. I mean, your prices should be enough that if you are off by a window, it doesn't matter. I think sometimes people get too caught up on being absolutely specific, and they don't realize that they just saved 30 minutes of your life and closed more jobs that way.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. No, that was the question I think I remember you saying. It was about like how you open them and stuff like that, and that really gives you like a lot of good info, because I think that's what most homeowners don't think of when they look at, you know, a picture window with two double hungs on either side, and they're like, oh, it's a window.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is there's a difference between, as window cleaners, none of us should ever call anything a window. We should call it a pane, because a pane, I could have, you know, a bay window that's got, you know, 6 panes. I could have a casement window that's 1 pane, you know, and for me to call each of those a window just confuses everybody, because people go like, hey, I got a place that counted up like 27 windows. What would you charge? Okay. Are those 27 windows or 27 panes? Not the same. No, they're not the same. Because if it's a double hung versus a casement, people always count two. You know, if there's casement windows or crankouts that both open like this, well, then are both of those a window? What if that window has a transom? Is that a window, or is that 3 panes of glass? So anyway, panes of glass is always the way to go.
Here's a question. How often did you get a call, or how often did you get a customer where you didn't even have to give them a quote, where they were just like, we just want to be on the schedule? And then what do you do? Because I get that a lot lately, where like literally people call me, they're like, I just want to get on the schedule, and I schedule them, and I'm just like, I pretty much probably usually just ask them if it's 2-story, 1-story, and then I can kind of be like, I just ask them French windows or casements, and I'm like, okay, well, if you want me on the schedule, this is your date, and like price will be on the day. Yeah, but I only give a price sometimes, and they're just cool with it.
I know that from people who like use me from people, and I've only had it one time ever where I did somebody like that, and after that I always did, because I just don't like that weird. Like, I don't like when people think you're scamming them. Like I like strive so hard not to, that it just feels weird. But it was this lady who had like told all of her card clubs. So I did like 6 of these ones. The 7th one calls me, so just come over and do it. Mind you, has the most custom house out of all of them. The most amount of windows, the special type of like, I mean, it was one of the only houses I've ever seen in real life, like in the city that I lived in, that had terracotta, right? No, tile, whatever those, like roofing that's like this, you know?
Yep.
No houses like that had it. It was a custom thing for us. And I get done and she's like, oh, this is absolutely great. And, you know, I got to bring it up, but, you know, Deb paid this and Sue paid this. And I'm like, absolutely. And we pay on our time. And, you know, it did take us twice as long because you have more windows. And I got to say, no harm or foul on their house. They have beautiful houses, but I'm like, you have an amazing house. And they're like, oh, well.
Oh, geez.
Anytime. People always say, well, I'm throwing my phone around. People always say, well, what do you do when, like if somebody's you're doing a phone bid and somebody goes, you start telling them stuff. They're like, you're going to have to come see my house. It's, I mean, I think this is bigger than you think. And you're like, oh, what's the square footage? And they're like 3,100 square feet. I'm like, 3,100? Like 3,000? I'll be there. And I'll make a big deal out of it, because what they're telling you is your price is too low, right? Like you need to show up. And every single time I've ever done it, I'll show up and go, man, Mr. SteveO, I just got to say, I really appreciate you letting me know this house is amazing. It is so much bigger than I was picturing. I'm just so glad that, and they're going, I know. Well, you know, I didn't want you to screw yourself. And you just not only make them feel great, you give them the same price you're going to, because I would never charge somebody if they're in a fancy neighborhood. I just charge what I'm going to charge. Like I got this big mansion. I have houses that the estate house, you know, like their guest house is bigger than any house I've ever lived in. And that's like their extra house for guests. I still charge them the same per pane as I do for anything else. There's PETA factor, obviously, but I don't just like, you know, but I'll go in and tell those people and just make their day, because they just, you know, this isn't just one of those houses, you know, but it's all still relevant.
Yeah. I always remember this one story of, we were cleaning a house regularly every year, twice a year. And then the neighbor finally called and said, hey, you know, I want to get a bid on my house. And I said, okay, well, we're actually cleaning your neighbor like in 2 weeks. So do you just want us to do yours at the same time? Yeah, no problem. I said, okay, like we can just do price that day. Yep, no problem. And so I went there. They had the same amount of, you know, like this one house had casements mixed with double hungs. And then the other house that wanted cleaning now had like 6 cutouts, and then usually just a bottom full window, but it was like a double hung. So of course that's going to cost more. So I give her the quote, and her quote is what there is. Her quote for the outside was what theirs was for inside and out. And she exploded. And I was just like, it's no problem. I was like, we'll be here next year. So just let me know if you want to get done next year. And 1 year later, she called, super nice, super apologetic, and took a year. But I was just like, I'm not bending to your will just because like you're not understanding the difference of work. Like, man, it'd be so frustrating. It's like that's rare. That it was super rare to have that.
There's not to get on a tirade of this either, but we talk about it all the time, is like knowing the difference between price and value. 1,000%. Like the price is the price. Like I know people get hung up on that too. Like, oh, I got to give them a sale. Oh, they're worried about, they've never even said anything on the price. You just think that because you assume it's too much and you're trying to find this. Well, they kind of said, oh, is that the best you can do? I don't know what to do. And they freak out. Yes. The answer is yes. It's like when somebody goes, whoa, like it's $1,000 to get my windows clean. That's expensive. It is. You got an amazing house here. Do you want to sign up on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Like it is an objection like that is not an objection of like, you're too expensive and I'm not going to hire you, or making an observation. Yeah. It's like when you pull up in a Lamborghini, I'm like, whoa, look at this thing. And you're like, yeah, man, like $500,000 for this car. I'm like, holy crap, dude, that is so expensive. Yes, and worth every penny. Like it was just me saying you're sitting on by a light that's green. Like it's just people can sometimes get too hung up on that part too, where it's easier to do though once you have money and jobs than in the beginning where you want everything. But that lady goes, man, this is way too much. Okay, cool. Well, hey, if something changes, definitely let me know.
Yeah.
That right there, it's not you being, holding up. If I cut off $20, it's not going to change. You're still going to think it's expensive, and then you're going to be an awful client because you're just going to still feel like I somehow pulled the wool over your eyes when you weren't ready to buy. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's the answer.
Yep. Oh yeah. It definitely happens quite a bit with other things, but yeah. Well, that great answer. Great job. Great job.
Went off on price.
That's okay.
Price versus value, man.
Paz Window Cleaning asks, if a homeowner wanted to do a monthly window cleaning, how do you charge for first month, then the months after? The first cleaning, there's no specials, like, because you don't know if that customer is actually going to sign up for monthlies. Yeah. First time was always just the regular, like, charge for residential. And then once they actually commit, like, okay, we want to do this. Okay, here would be the prices. Now, I guess I never came up with like a direct number for this, but I would say that since you'd be doing it like monthly, you're going to go pretty fast on it. But I would not give a discount on residential more than like 10 to 15%.
Because if somebody's doing it monthly, it's not because they're saving money, because they're spending a ton more than they normally would. And people get caught up in it. It's like, oh, they want to save money. No, they don't. They want clean windows. Yeah. You're there to clean their windows and to make their view that cost them $2 million when they bought the house. They have to make that clean. So I just throw a dollar amount just to like throw something like, oh, if you want to go, instead, yeah, I'll knock $20 off each one just so that's conversation. But it does not matter. People think too much on that. And no one ever has gotten a window cleaning every month because it's cheaper than if they did it once a year. It's way more expensive,
It's like an OCD thing. We had a customer who she got her windows cleaned every single 4 weeks, and one of the problems with it though is like during the winter they start to expect that that's always going to be done, and you start getting to a point where like if there's bad weather, hey, we can only clean insides. Oh, we can't even get to the outside this week. Then all of a sudden you're splitting up a job that you already have discounted into 2 different times of going there. They don't want to pay more for that extra time. You don't have that written in the contract with them. It's a loose contract, like whatever. We would kind of go through that. We have really good customers that the outside only residential, I think would be a great thing like monthly, because then the customer doesn't have to be there. It's just like a faster thing. And then maybe sell like that in and out maybe every 3 or 4 months, kind of thing. Inside doesn't need to be done, every single month. Yeah. So
I loved I had one lady do it every 3 weeks because her husband was gone 1 week a year or 1 week a month traveling. So it was every 3 weeks. Anyway. Yeah, a lot of the 4 week people it was great. And I still swear by, if you have a window, right, a 3x4, 3 foot by 4 foot window versus a 6 by 8 foot window, we'll say. I know that's kind of bigger and bigger, but you know, a 1 by 2 versus a 4 by 6 or whatever.
Right.
It's not the size of the window that takes you the time, it's the frame. And each window has its own frame. So if it's really clean or it's not really dirty, but relatively dirty, right? It's going to take me about the same time because I still have that same frame to detail, and that's where kind of the timing takes. So for getting it done often, I'm not going to do too much of a discount for it. I just know that they want me there like rain, and that's what they're paying for. And I had a customer, I had one of my larger houses, very well-known house in my city. It was an amazing property. That the literal lighthouse was its yard. It was this giant lighthouse for the city. But anyway, they were gone. He lived in Sweden. They owned a textile company anyway. The house was still cleaned every single week. The housekeeper was there for an entire day every week. And I was asking her one time, I mean, she would just walk around listening to music. Like, she loved that. It was the greatest thing ever. And I said one time, I said, so they have it here every week? They're only here two weeks a year? And she goes, the house gets dirty. Like, there's still stuff in. I'm like, no, I don't care. I'm here. I clean the windows twice a year. They're here 2 weeks of it. So
yeah,
I'm fine with that. But they pay housekeepers to come every week. Why not pay a window cleaner every month, you know?
Yep, exactly. What other question?
No, take your time. Yawn away. I'll stop talking. A question from Randy, by the way. Change quote to estimate. Is he saying change the wordage, or
I don't know.
Say a quote? So a quote is fixed and an estimate is, I see what he's kind of saying. Like, would you call it a quote and then be firm on it, or an estimate? So here's how I word that, and I'll let you go so you don't have to get I'm talking too much.
Yeah.
But when I do a quote, I always say, when we get there, we'll go ahead and the text will count the windows, make sure everything looks okay before we go. And if there's any major price differences, we'll let you know.
That's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
Quote.
I don't feel like I hardly ever called them estimate. It was always quote or bid. It was always.
I don't like estimate because then people still like. I feel like I'm under that same contract. You're like,
this is
people think you're going to come there. Yeah. Oh, it'll be $100. I show up and I'm like $2,000, and I already did the work.
Yep. Oh, this is a good one. What is the most expensive non-post construction residential job you've done? I don't know.
Man.
I've
done them in the 5 figures for houses.
5 figures for homes, but was that window cleaning, pressure washing?
That was no, that was just a window cleaning, and it was their estate, and it was the house it was about 100 years old, but it was like there was marble on the walls, one of those type of places. So what ended up happening was there was more stuff we had to move and more like hoops to jump through than cleaning. And they had a lot of really weird windows that we had to slowly take apart. And actually there were chandeliers in that. So I guess it wasn't just windows, but
yeah. I think the biggest I ever done is maybe around like 2,500 to $3,000. And that was like 3 guys a day kind of stuff. And that's
like the most common of like the big stuff would be that in that ballpark, I think.
I think that home was 25,000 square feet or something like that. But it was casements. Like, it wasn't crazy. Like, that's the funny thing about some of those large homes is like, unless they're French windows, those kind of homes with like all Frenchies and it's 11,000, 15,000 square feet. I mean, that's a tedious job, like water fed outside. But then a lot of those jobs though, the nice thing about them was that you were always dealing with like, you wouldn't deal with the actual customer. You would deal with like whoever their grounds person was, who
the house manager.
Yeah. You got to do this. And they're so like precise about what you have to do and kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, but it's okay, you know.
That particular house, which has been so long that my NDAs are, whatever, but that guy was we'll say a tech guy.
Bill Gates?
No. He was a tech guy. He was one of those tech guys that, like, when you say their name, you're like, I think that sounds familiar. And then you're like, oh, he owns, like, anyway. And that was one of those. We just talked to the house manager was just like, we'd always be there doing these little things and be like, hey, I got like, something. I got to go in and like clean out the 2. They had like hanging, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't a chandelier, but they were like bowl window, like things in the front. And they're like, we got some spiders in there. You want to like come? We just send a guy, be down for 4 hours plus drive time, and it'd just be like giant money for. But I do have a question for you and everybody. What's the most amount of money per hour that you made on a house that you did regular? Not like a fluke, but like what was your favorite best house that you did?
Favorite best house was a home that I did do. We drove way too far for it, but it was so good that, and I don't feel like it's that crazy, but it was $250 an hour just like outside. But that really was like, I don't feel like I ever had anything that was like $500 an hour or anything. I remember one time we had a construction clean that was $1,200 and we did it in 2 hours. But it was one of those things where it's like,
yeah,
whoops, it wasn't really that bad.
They're happy with it.
It just went really good. It was a really good, bid.
When you get to the end of it and you're like, we should just go around one more time. And just...
I kept saying, just look at things, just look around, just do something. But no, I would say 250 is the most, and that didn't happen often. It was usually, I always found that 125 to 150 was usually the common if we did well. And then, it was if I had a bunch of employees with me, it was closer to like 80 to 100, or just kind of like really depended.
Nice. I would love to know from the comments of people how much they charge too. But we had one house, we did a multiple of this lady's home. Real nice, just old lady. Like they were doing well for themselves, right? And the house that they had was one of my favorite houses ever. It wasn't like super big. It just was like when you walked in, there was this kitchen that the son had remodeled. It was the coolest kitchen I've ever seen in my entire life. And they had these beams it just was awesome. And we're talking about it. And she's like, this is from a boat that was built in like 17 or something crazy. And it was an English boat that they found in a harbor, 300 years after it sank. And they took anyway, one of those houses. But it was a true divide, like Frenchies, whatever you want to call it, house. And we bid it as that, right? Because we're like, if it's winter or summer, like I don't care, I'm using water fed, right? But we did outsides of that house for $7.99, and it took one guy about 20 minutes. And we did it every single month.
What the frick?
Yeah. Because when winter came, actually she would usually stop because she would go to her cabin. But if we did it in the winter, we couldn't use water fed Wisconsin, right? Well, I'm not going to charge you $20 or 20 minutes worth of time when I have to be there for, 8 hours with 3 guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens in the winter. So it's like, okay, well now all of a sudden I got to like really earn my $800 versus not, so.
Yeah. Yeah. You always feel like you're eating a little bit water fed with like French windows because it speeds it up so nicely.
And because we did it so regular, it was one of those that just was like, they almost were clean by the time you got there kind of thing, but we were talking to her too. And she goes, this is where I got one of my sayings from that I always say, but she says, I don't care if you ever get yourself a magic wand. She's like, I pay for clean windows. I don't care how long it takes you. Yes, that's exactly it. And I always started telling people after that. Yeah. Where people are like, what? You charge this amount for? I said, yeah, well, my magic wand's in the shop right now, but as soon as I get it back, I'm going to be able to do it even faster. And then they laugh and pay you.
That's good. Let's see. Well, this is a good question by Craig, and it kind of goes along maybe a little bit with this, but what is your emergency cleaning rate? Like if someone calls you and says they need you to come within 48 hours before their guest arrives. I never did an emergency thing unless it was the only time I ever had to do something like that, and this was for gutter cleaning, was during a time in our state, like in 2014, we're having floods, and a lady called and couldn't get any other company to come out. And I went and unclogged her gutters in the middle of like just straight out crazy rainstorm. And her gutter was overflowing and filling up her basement by going down her window well. And her husband wasn't home. So for that, I was there for 15 to 20 minutes and I charged $500 because of.
She was completely happy because
she was ecstatic. Because I saved her. Exactly. I saved her tens of thousands of dollars. Like she was probably gonna have to do something with their basement, but I did do that. But I kind of look at it in that we were always the type that if someone called that day, and it didn't have to be emergency. Our first idea ever when someone called was, can we do it today? And if we can't do it today, can we do it tomorrow? So it wasn't the idea of that, like really they were calling for emergency. And I know this kind of relates, kind of doesn't, but it was, we can do it, which therefore is going to make that customer possibly a forever customer. So that was like more my idea with that, was that like, I'm not going to charge you like an emergency. What I more want to do is I want to have you be my customer like forever. Yeah. So by us maybe doing this, and that's not going to happen with everybody, but that was more my thought. But I never got like that many emergency calls, or I guess if someone asked you like, you know, day before Thanksgiving, oh, can you clean my windows? And they're asking for you to come over the morning of Thanksgiving or the morning of Christmas or something like that. I would charge something, but maybe an extra $199. I don't know.
I am more willing to, so you know how I am with people respecting my time. Like I'm willing to give all of my time to people, but as soon as somebody just decides that, you know, they somehow I owe them my time, whenever it is, then I just hate that. So if it's a real emergency, I'm totally cool with that. But I have 2 times that I've done stuff like that I remember. And one of them was I got to a job. There was 4 techs and me on a job. I was just there to talk to them. It was a first-time customer. They were in a fancy whatever. And they were these like old school sets where they took the storm and screwed it onto the outside of this house, right? Those kind of triple tracks, right? Where it was like, oh, this is great. If we just put more glass on this house, it'll way better. It was like one of those older houses like that. Big giant house or whatever. And we're like, okay, well, you know, I got 2 techs. We're going to go in there, you know, here's who they're like, you're not coming in. We're like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had inside and outside. They're triple tracks. She's like, no. They do it from the outside. I'm like, no, we can't do it from the outside. She's like, you're not coming in my house. I'm like, well, we don't have to do it. I said, if we did it from the outside, I mean, we'd have to charge you double. And she's like, do it. I'm like, crap. Yeah. So 4 guys were there. I mean, literally all day. 2 guys went back the next day. We had to undrill the sets from clean the entire windows, mount the whole thing back. And, you know, those things settle. Like, it was awful. They must have had like a grow house or something going on. They just, to pay us almost $1,000 extra to not go in their house was basically the reason.
Would you still do that today? That was one thing I never ever offered, or I always declined, was when they said, or when that's what you had to do to clean a storm, or maybe it was due to that, you know, the top pane in the storm wouldn't come down, or, you know, like jammed or something like that. And we had quite a few jobs like that over time. I always said to the customer, we're not unscrewing, we're not unbolting anything. But then I see a number of people like on Instagram and YouTube, and they're constantly like, and they seem fine about it. And I think if you want to take it on, you feel comfortable, great. But man, exactly what you said, and that the home is settling, like just so much more liability in it that I just never even considered it.
And I'll tell you, like, the real side of that too is that there's very, very something freeing when you, instead of because your business controls you, it runs you for a very long time. Like, you are sucking at the teat of like making things work, and you're on the edge of like, you know, and then there's a point where all of a sudden you take the reins and you get to a window, and like, if we try a window and it doesn't open, we move to the next window, and we come in and say, hey, just so you know, this double hung is painted shut, so we did clean the inside to it. You know, by the time we're here next time, just go ahead, and if you get it unstuck, then, well, can't you do that? Nope, our insurance won't let us. So like, I listen, I would love to help you, but I'm not going to break a window because you didn't want to do that. I'm totally cool with that. And I've never, in 16 years of doing this, had somebody be like, I can't believe that you like, I've had broken windows. If a window even has a crack in it, they're like, oh, that's fine, just clean it. Nope, I'm sorry, we won't clean that. You know, we'll get water, and it just, you know, we can press the window. It's just for liability. We won't clean that. But as soon as you get it fixed, just let us know when we're back next time. And I never tell them either, if you open that window, I'll come back. Never. Like, I am absolutely into my time and my freedom of that. And it makes me sound a little bit one of those guys. But I'm telling you, when you get to that point where you can tell a customer no, they understand too. I mean, there's windows where, you know, I always told my guys that if you ever are scared or fearful, no one on the crew will do a window, it's not worth your life.
Yeah.
Let them know at the end, hey, we can't access that window because this or this or this. And customers are just like, oh, yeah, it's a pain in the butt one.
Yep.
I mean, and it happens once a year maybe, you know, it's not super common.
I always had a home I did, and I did it for many different real estate people who were trying to sell this home up in Boulder. And they had these 2 triangle windows you had to take a 28-foot ladder up to. And then I did them like like 2 to 3 times on my own. And then the last time I had like Alf holding the ladder and I was exhausted. But every time I went up there, I would think to myself, why the hell am I doing? Like, this is so stupid. And the last time I cleaned it, the person said to me, yeah, I don't think any window cleaner other than you have ever actually gone up there and done, like, you don't need to do it. Like, more of that, like, not that they were impressed. They were more like, why are you being so dumb doing that? So I was like, well, it's like, you know, it's up there. I thought you want everything clean. So
the best case scenario in a fall like that, off of like a second or third floor window, is that you're hurt and you only have to be off work for 6 weeks. That's the best case. Yeah. Worst case means you don't get to, like, none of that to me is worth the money for it, you know? So anyway, that's my high horse. I do have one more thing since we're wrapping up the show that I want to tell you about emergency cleans just for Craig. Was I had one of my properties that I had done everything. The guy was my first property manager ever. Like, he was so awesome. I literally showed up the first time. This is the first job that I ever did for a property manager. And he was like, oh, double your price and you have the job. And I was like, oh, he means cut it in half. I'm like, I can't do it for less. He's like, no, double. You're way too low. Like, double your price. You have the building. Anyway, he called me on the 4th of July and he had my cell phone and his name was on there. His name's Randy, super awesome guy. And I saw his number on the 4th of July. I'm like, oh crap, something's going on with this building. Nobody wouldn't call me. He's like, dude, you're going to hate me. He's like, I don't care what you charge me, but there was a parade right in front of their place and the doors to the building were unlocked, but the doors of the building were locked. So like the entranceway. Yeah. So somebody had gotten in and then found out that they could only get into the stairwell, but not get out of the stairwell to anywhere, and took a healthy break in the hallway. Yes. Of the building and the entire building. I mean, it was like probably a homeless person. They tried to go to the bathroom, couldn't. And he's like, dude, I don't care. He's like, get there if you can, clean it, disinfect it with whatever you can. Like, can you do this? And I was like, absolutely. Was the worst 4th of July ever, but I made fat bank. And he sent me like dozens of buildings. I mean, I made hundreds of thousands of dollars for that one guy, so it was worth it.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those clients that you drop everything for. We've had a few of those. Yeah, where when they call you, you say, okay, we'll be there.
He didn't expect it. Like, he wasn't that guy who's like, do you know who I am? He just was like, dude, you are going to hate me forever. He actually ordered my guys. We had like a donut places were real big. And he sent us this case of donuts that were all custom made donuts with like the frosting looked like poop emojis, you know, and sent the case of donuts over to us like a thank you.
Well, it's good though, at least to have them be like so nice about it, even though it sucks so bad to do that. And that's what's good is like when you have customers that like appreciate that. It sucks when you do something like that and it turns into so much more for you when you're trying to be so nice, you know.
Yeah, he was in Florida at the time, and that would be why too. So he wasn't around. He was like the property property guy, but he was like literally out of the state, you know. So he's like, dude, I can't like drive like 28 hours back.
That's
like, I got you, man.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, anyways, this hour flew by. We are going to be back in 2 weeks for, let's see here, December 18th. And then we'll be taking a break till we'll be back on January 8th.
It's crazy.
Yeah, this is insane.
This year's like going.
Real quickly, how has everybody's years ended up? Just up, down? You're cool with what it was? Did you have a good year? I mean, I think everyone kind of in December, you kind of know. December is like our pretty much slowest time, I feel like. And, you know, everybody slows down during this time, especially up till Christmas. But
first week. Yeah. Up until that point where everybody's trying to get their deductions in.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, do you have anything to share?
Yeah. If you're here, subscribe to this channel. This is SteveO, the Window Cleaners channel. So if you somehow stumbled upon this channel, please do him the best favor. Go ahead and subscribe. He is trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. He figures by the end of next year. So go and do that if you haven't yet. And get yourself a subscription to the American Window Cleaner magazine. Literally, it is a paper magazine that has lots of pictures of SteveO in it. Go ahead and get it. It's something to read on the toilet, go to awcmag.com and get that subscription.
Yes. We have lots of sales going on at windowcleaner.com. There's 15 days of holiday deals coming up, so look out for that. I know there's been lots of sales lately, so yes.
Can you talk PWP polls just real quick, because it's like insane right now?
Yeah, there is an insane amount of discounts on pure water power poles. So if you guys didn't know, back in like beginning of last year-ish, end of last year-ish, WCR acquired CWC, so we started manufacturing PWP, and we've got poles at 35 to 50% off, Kevlar wraps, high mod, carbon fiber. So if you are looking for a pole, looking for a deduction for the end of the year, that is a great option. If you're just looking to spend some money and get some stuff bought. Yeah.
And you can still buy through a rep like Steve, because he can still get commission and help you through that.
Yes, I can. Well, anyways, we will see you all next time, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Boom.
Peace.